What if I told you that 85% of illness today is rooted in something medicine can't see and no prescription can touch? Have you ever wondered why some people recover quickly from illness while others, with the same diagnosis, continue to suffer for years? Or why monks in remote Himalayan villages with no access to modern healthcare often live past 90 without painkillers, surgeries, or supplements? Here's the truth no one tells you. Healing isn't something you take, it's something you remember. For over 2,500 years, Buddhist teachings have pointed to a quiet truth. The body heals not when it's forced, but when the mind becomes still. In that stillness, something awakens, something real, something ancient. This isn't about denying science, it's about rediscovering the inner science of awareness, the gentle medicine of presence, breath, and belief. You've tried the plans, the pills, the promises, but deep down, something in you still whispers, there must be another way. And there is. Today we'll explore 5 timeless principles that reveal how your mind, when properly aligned, can invite your body to heal itself. So take a breath. Set everything else aside. What you hear next might just change how you heal forever. Your body doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be heard. Why is it that your joints ache the most? After an argument with someone you love, or your stomach cramps, right before a difficult conversation? Have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, your body isn't malfunctioning? Is it trying to speak? Let's slow this down. In Zen Buddhism, we don't rush to fix. We learn to listen, because sometimes pain is not the problem, it's the messenger. The Buddha once said, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. But what he really meant was this: the body will experience discomfort, but when the mind resists it, labels it, fears it, that's when suffering arises. And here's the twist most people never hear. Healing doesn't begin when you do something. It begins when you stop doing and start feeling. When you stop asking, how do I make this go away? And start asking, what are you trying to show me? Let me share something personal. For nearly 4 years, I lived with an invisible weight in my chest. Not pain exactly, but a pressure, like something heavy was resting on my heart. I went to the doctors. I changed my diet. I tried supplements. The tests came back normal, but nothing felt normal. One evening, in the quiet after a long day, I sat still, no goal, no fixing, just breathing. And out of that stillness came a memory I hadn't touched in decades: the loss of my father, unprocessed grief, unspoken words. I wept not like a dramatic movie cry. It was quite dignified, like my body had finally been heard, and something miraculous happened. The next morning, the tightness had softened. It didn't vanish, but it no longer screamed. It had been acknowledged. That was enough to begin healing. So many of us walk through life thinking our body's a battlefield. We try to conquer fatigue, numb pain, and override tension. But the truth is, your body isn't fighting you. It's fighting for you. Every symptom is a signal. Every signal is a request. Please, listen. Science now agrees. Research from Harvard shows that up to 90% of all doctor visits are stress-related. Not because stress is in your head, but because it rewires your brain, suppresses your immune system, tightens your muscles, and inflames your gut. And yet, just 10 minutes of daily mindfulness can reverse this. That's not magic. That's measurable. Still, here's what they don't put on prescription bottles. Healing isn't only biological, it's deeply emotional. Psychologists have found that repressed emotions, especially grief, shame, and anger, often show up as chronic physical symptoms. What the mind hides, the body reveals. aches that linger, sleep that won't come, a heart that beats too fast, too loud. Sometimes it's not because you're broken, it's because you're full of unspoken truths. You might think, I've been ignoring this for years. How can listening help now? But here's the beautiful thing. The body never stops believing in you. It waits, patiently. Like a loyal friend, you haven't called in a while, but who still answers warmly the moment you do. And yes, the law of attraction echoes this truth in its way. Your body responds to the vibration you hold most often. If you constantly think, I'm falling apart, that belief shapes your biology. But what if, starting today, your new mantra was, I am healing, I am learning, I am listening? That shift, small as it seems, is the doorway. One image I love to use with my students is this. Imagine your body as a wise old tree. Its roots run deep. It holds memories in its bark, its scars, its growth rings. It doesn't bloom by force. It blooms when the conditions are right. Sunlight, stillness, space. You don't fix a tree, you nourish it and it heals. Now I know what you might be thinking. If my body's a tree, why does it creak like an old wooden chair every morning? Fair point, but even the creakiest trees still reach for the light. You are not broken. You are a miracle in progress. But only if you stop treating your body like a machine and start honoring it like a sacred temple. And if you've been waiting for a sign to change how you treat your body, this is it. Tonight, try something simple. Place your hand on your heart, close your eyes and say, I'm here now. I hear you. See what rises. Most people will never do this. They'll keep chasing fixes and missing the whispers. But you're still watching. And that means you're already different. You're already listening. But listening is only the beginning. What happens when we're not just dealing with symptoms, but grieving the body we used to have? That's where we're headed next. Let's keep going. Why we suffer more as we age. Have you ever noticed how quickly a child can bounce back from a fall, but how slowly an adult recovers from a disappointment? What if the pain of aging wasn't coming from the body, but from the stories we attach to it? And here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not your wrinkles, your knees, or your memory that's aging fastest. It's your belief system. Let's start with something Buddhism teaches clearly. Suffering is not caused by what happens to us. It's caused by our attachment to how we wish things would stay. In modern life, we are conditioned to worship youth, to chase it, inject it, filter it. But in Zen, impermanence isn't something to fear. It's something to bow to. Look at a tree in autumn. It doesn't grieve the falling leaves. It goes beautifully. It trusts that what falls makes room for what is next. Aging, then, is not decay. It's returning to its essence, to clarify, to what matters. But the real suffering begins when we resist this truth, when we say, I shouldn't feel this tired, or I used to be able to do this, or I look so old. These inner scripts don't just drain your joy, they affect your biology. Did you know that in a landmark Yale study, adults with positive views on aging lived 7.5 years longer on average? That's more than quitting smoking, exercising, and eating vegetables combined. So if you're taking your vitamins but telling yourself, I'm falling apart, your cells are still listening and obeying. I met a woman once, 78 years old, who glowed with life. Not the I run marathons and own an organic farm kind of life, but the kind that made you want to sit near her just to soak in her peace. I asked her a secret. She smiled and said, I stopped believing I was old. The body ages, but I still say thank you every time I wake up breathing. She wasn't in denial. She had arthritis. She'd lost her partner. Her hands shook when she poured tea, but she had dignity, that quiet grace that comes from being present, not perfect. Here's what psychology tells us. As people age, What hurts most is not the body. It's the feeling of being invisible, useless, or past their prime. When we lose a sense of meaning, the nervous system begins to shrink its responses. The body slows down, not just from age, but from emotional withdrawal. And yet, connection can reverse this. Purpose is the true elixir. Studies show that even simple roles, volunteering, mentoring, planting a garden, can light up brain regions that reduce pain and improve longevity. And from the law of attraction perspective, what you expect, you invite. If your internal dialogue is, "It's all downhill from here," then yes, it will be. But if your belief is, "My best years are spiritually unfolding," then you begin to attract vitality, people, and opportunities that reflect that frequency. Here's my opinion, and it may challenge you. Your body is not betraying you. It's maturing you. It's not falling apart. It's peeling away what's no longer essential. Just like the lotus rises from the mud, this stage of life can be your awakening, not your ending. Think of aging like the ripening of fruit. When a fruit is young, it's firm, glossy, and a bit sour. But when it ripens, it softens, sweetens, deepens. It becomes nourishing. In the same way, your soul is ripening. You are becoming medicine for others, if you choose to see it that way. Of course, ripening doesn't mean we love every crack, creak, or chin hair that shows up uninvited. Let's be honest, some mornings feel like a game of, "What new sound will my body make today?" But that's the beauty. When we stop resisting and start smiling, even the aging process becomes lighter. Most people will keep chasing youth like a ghost, wasting precious energy on mirrors and regrets. But you, yes, you're choosing to wake up instead. That already makes you rare. That already makes you free. Ask yourself this now. What belief about aging have I inherited that no longer serves me? Write it down. Burn it. Or better, replace it with something like, "Every year I grow wiser, lighter, and more connected to what truly matters." In Buddhism, we often speak of the beginner's mind, a mind that sees each moment as new. So even at 60, 70, 80, you are not running out of time. You are running deeper into the truth. But what happens when we've accepted the aging, yet still carry emotions we never had the chance to express? That's where we go next. Because the real healing often begins when we allow ourselves to feel what's been buried for far too long. Let's take a deeper breath and keep going. The weight of unspoken emotions. Your liver remembers your anger. Your gut stores your fear. Your chest, your grief. But here's the real question. What happens to a body that's never allowed to cry? Or worse, one that's been trained to smile through everything? Let's not sugarcoat it. In the Zen tradition, we don't bypass emotion in the name of peace. We sit with it. We bow to it. Because what you don't feel, you can't be free. And what you avoid emotionally, your body will eventually carry physically. Here's something I often say to my students. Your body is not just flesh and blood. It's your autobiography. A living scroll that stores every unspoken goodbye, every stifled scream, every swallowed "I'm not okay." Think about that. How many years have you been collecting what you were too busy or too scared to release? I once guided a woman in her 60s through her first silent meditation retreat. On the second day, she broke down in tears during walking meditation. When I gently asked what surfaced, she said, "I just realized I never got to grieve my mother. I was too busy taking care of everyone else." That moment changed her, not because she cried, but because for the first time she allowed it. Buddhist teaching reminds us, suffering is not the enemy, suppression is. Like stagnant water in a still pond, what is unexpressed begins to rot. Emotion, when blocked, becomes inflammation. Thoughts become tension. Silence becomes sickness. Now let's zoom into science for a moment, not to overwhelm you, but to validate what ancient wisdom already knew. Epigenetic research shows that unresolved trauma can switch on or off certain genes, affecting not just you, but your children and grandchildren. In other words, what you don't release, they might inherit. And here's the kicker. Psychologists have long understood the body-mind connection, but recent studies now confirm people who suppress emotions are more likely to suffer from chronic illnesses, autoimmune conditions, and even heart disease. On the flip side, practices like expressive writing, talk therapy, and somatic meditation aren't just nice things to try. They actually reduce cortisol, balance heart rhythms, and even regulate immune responses. You don't need to scream into a pillow every night, but you do need to give your emotions a seat at the table. Most people think strength means keeping it all together, but real strength is allowing things to fall apart on purpose. Not dramatically, not for attention, but quietly, authentically, like a tree shedding its leaves, trusting spring will come again. Let me share something personal. There was a time when I went through a period of deep exhaustion. I was teaching, guiding, and caring for others, but I was numb. One evening, I finally sat down with no distractions, and out of nowhere, tears came. Not sadness, not despair, just the sacred release of decades of holding it all in. I cried for 30 minutes, and afterward, I didn't feel weak. I felt real, alive, light, like I'd finally come back into my body. Now let's talk vibration. You cannot attract wholeness from a fragmented heart. You cannot manifest peace if grief is locked in your chest. Energy is honest. What you resist persists, but what you embrace transforms. When you choose to release, to soften, to feel, your vibration changes. And the universe, like a mirror, reflects that as healing. People, opportunities, peace. We've been lied to, taught to fear emotions, taught that vulnerability is weakness. But the most powerful people I've met were the ones who weren't afraid to feel deeply. Because once you've made peace with your pain, nothing can be used against you. Now, I'm not saying you have to become a crying machine. No one wants to be the person sobbing over a burnt piece of toast. But let's face it, we've all had days when it wasn't about the toast, right? Here's the tragedy. Most people will carry these emotional weights until the very end, never realizing they were optional. But you're different. You're watching this. You're feeling something stir. That's not a coincidence. That's the invitation. Imagine your body as a house. Every unspoken emotion is like a box shoved into the attic, forgotten but still leaking its energy. Eventually, the weight of what's unspoken starts creaking through the floorboards. And one day you hear the house whisper, "Please, unpack me." Tonight, write a letter to your body. Ask it, what have you been holding for me without thanks, without rest, without my attention? You might be surprised at what it says back. In Zen, we say that when you sit in true stillness, your deepest truths begin to rise, not to punish you, but to purify you. This isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. Now that we've begun releasing the old, what happens when we learn to meet each new moment without fear, without resistance, without the past? That's what we explore next. Because the present moment is not just peaceful, it's profoundly healing. Let's keep going. The healing power of present moment awareness. What if the cure isn't hidden in some expensive therapy, next year's wellness trend, or tomorrow's sunrise, but in this exact breath? What if all the energy you've spent chasing healing, was it distracting you from the one place it's always been available? Right. Here, let's pause for a second. In Zen Buddhism, we say, the past is memory, the future is imagination. Only the present is real. But most of us are living as if the opposite is true. We replay old regrets like a broken film reel, or fast forward into imagined fears that haven't even happened. Meanwhile, this moment, the only one that's real, it slips by unnoticed, like a friend we keep standing up. Here's the twist that still surprises many. Suffering doesn't just come from pain, it comes from time travel, from mentally living in yesterday's grief or tomorrow's worry. And the body, it pays the price. Intention, fatigue, shallow breath, racing thoughts. Because when the mind is out of sync with the moment, the body tightens in defense. Zen teaches this elegantly. This moment is not a stepping stone, it's the destination. Peace doesn't come when things are perfect. It comes when we stop waiting for things to be different. Scientific truth backs this up beautifully. A Harvard study showed that people spend nearly 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're doing, and that mind wandering is strongly correlated with unhappiness. But here's the empowering part. Just 10 minutes of mindfulness a day can significantly lower blood pressure, reduce anxiety, and increase gray matter in areas of the brain linked to memory and self-awareness. Yes, rewire your brain by breathing with awareness. Let me share a moment from my own life. Years ago, I fell into a habit of over-planning. Every day was a strategy to fix my health, my schedule, my future. Supplements, routines, schedules, always calculating what's next. But one morning I sat outside under a Bodhi tree I had planted years before. I wasn't meditating, I wasn't doing anything. I just watched the leaves, felt the wind, heard my breath, and in that stillness, something profound happened. I realized that for the first time in weeks, my jaw wasn't clenched. My stomach was calm, my heart open. Healing came not from planning, but from presence. Psychologically, this makes perfect sense. When you're in the present moment, the mind has no choice but to pause the what-if spiral. Presence interrupts the loop of fear. It resets the nervous system. It gives the inner child a safe place to rest. And from a law of attraction standpoint, your vibration is always now. The universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your frequency. If you're constantly focused on what's missing, what hurts, or what might go wrong, you amplify that reality. But when you come into the now, with gratitude, with breath, you begin to emit the energy of trust. And trust is magnetic. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but I've got bills, pain, deadlines, aging parents. I can't just sit and breathe all day. You're right, and you don't have to, because presence doesn't mean pausing your life. It means showing up for it, fully. You can wash dishes with awareness. You can feel your feet in your shoes as you walk to the mailbox. You can speak to your spouse, your child, your neighbor, and listen. Presence is not a technique, it's a return. Think of your mind like a snow globe. When you shake it, everything's a blur. Confusion, chaos, overwhelm. But when do you stop shaking? The flakes settle, clarity returns. Stillness reveals what was always there, beneath the storm. Of course, staying in the present doesn't mean becoming a monk on a mountain. Some days, just brushing your teeth without checking your phone deserves a round of applause. Small wins, friends. That's how peace builds momentum. Most people will continue to search for healing in the next guru, the next gadget, the next green juice. But you're learning the secret. That is now enough. That this breath contains everything you need to begin again. You don't need more time. You need more presence in the time you already have. Because of the moments you're fully alive in, they multiply, they expand, they change your chemistry, your memory, your legacy. Try this tonight. Set a 3-minute timer. Sit down, no music, no phone. Just breathe. With every inhale, say silently, "Now is safe." With every exhale, now is enough. Let that be your anchor, your medicine, your moment. In Buddhism, we don't chase the future. We invite this moment to reveal its gift. Because peace doesn't arrive like a package on your doorstep. It awakens when you do. So now that you've reclaimed the present, let's talk about something even more powerful than awareness. Let's talk about meaning. Because your body doesn't just respond to breath, it responds to purpose. Let's explore that next. The body responds to meaning, not just medicine. People don't just die of illness. They die of hopelessness, of feeling unnecessary, forgotten, unseen, and often of not remembering why they want to live in the first place. It's a hard truth, but it's one we need to say out loud. Without purpose, even the healthiest body starts to fade. But with purpose, even a tired body finds new strength. In Buddhism, there's a teaching called right livelihood. It's not just about your job. It's about the energy behind what you do. It's the idea that when your actions align with your heart, peace follows. And that peace is healing. But let me clarify something. Purpose doesn't mean launching a foundation or writing a best-selling book at 72. It can be quiet, gentle, personal. Purpose can be, I want to teach my granddaughter how to bake. Or, I want to keep tending to this little garden I love. The lotus, after all, doesn't bloom from manicured soil. It rises from the mud, from darkness. That's where strength is born. Let me share a story I'll never forget. I once met a 92-year-old monk who still taught early morning meditation every single day. I asked him, "Why do you still wake up at 4 a.m. to teach?" He smiled, tapped his knee and said, "Because teaching is why my legs still work." He wasn't joking. His purpose wasn't just in his mind. It had embedded itself into his cells. And science confirms this. A groundbreaking study by Dr. Patricia Boyle at the Rush Alzheimer's Disease Center found that seniors with a strong sense of purpose were 2.4 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's. Another study from JAMA showed that people with high life purpose had lower mortality rates and fewer chronic illnesses. In short, your why may be more powerful than your what. You may have been told healing means slowing down, but sometimes healing means waking something up. Not your schedule, not your productivity, but your sense of being needed, valued, connected. From a psychological lens, this is powerful. Pain without purpose feels unbearable. But pain with purpose, it becomes a kind of sacred fuel. It gives a story. It makes life feel like a path, not a prison. I once worked with a retired nurse who fell into depression after leaving her job. She said, "I feel invisible now." But when she began volunteering just one morning a week, reading to children at the library, her posture changed. Her voice brightened. She told me, "It's like my body remembers what I'm here for." Purpose is the most magnetic force you can emit. When you're aligned with something that feels true, life starts to conspire in your favor. You attract the people, energy, and circumstances that reinforce your momentum. It's not superstition, it's vibration. And it begins the moment you choose to mean something to someone or something. Think of your purpose as the sun. You may have cloudy days. You may forget it's there. But when you turn toward it, everything in your inner garden begins to grow. Even if slowly, even if silently, the body responds to warmth, especially the warmth of meaning. Of course, I'm not saying you need to reinvent the world at 70. Let's be honest. Some mornings, just finding your reading glasses feels like a full-time job. But meaning doesn't have to be heavy. Even making someone laugh today can be your sacred work. So no, the question is not, how many years do I have left? The real question is, what will I bring to the years I have? You're not done. If you're still breathing, you're still becoming. And becoming is medicine. Most people never ask this question. They live out their later years waiting, for something to fix them. But you, if you're still watching this, you're not waiting. You're remembering. That's rare, and that's powerful. Tonight, write down one reason you still want to wake up tomorrow, even if it's small, even if it's just, I want to see the sunrise. Let that be enough. Let that be the beginning. In Zen, we don't chase purpose like a prize. We discover it moment by moment, in service, in silence, in joy. You are not too old. You are not too late. Your why is still whispering. All it needs is your ear. So now we've explored awareness, emotion, belief, and purpose. And there's only one thing left, to bring it all together and let it land in your heart. Let's take this journey home. You're not broken. You're remembering. Remembering that your symptoms are not punishments. They are messengers. That aging is not the end. It's a return to depth. That emotion, when honored, doesn't break you. It frees you. That the present moment is not a delay. It's the medicine. And that purpose, no matter how small, breathes life into every cell of your being. What if healing was never about doing more, but about being more present? What if your body doesn't need a new routine, but a new relationship with you? As you go forward, I invite you to stay curious. Pause often. Ask your body what it needs, not just physically, but spiritually. Let your breath remind you, this moment is sacred. Let your choices say, I'm here, I'm willing, I'm listening. If this touched something inside you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share below. What part of your body are you learning to love again? And remember, healing isn't about fixing what's wrong. It's about returning to wholeness, to peace, to the truth of who you already are.